What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Knowing is Knowing. I'm your host, Rashad Young, and as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in to a brand new episode. Today, I have Jennifer Henriquez as my guest. Jennifer is a school counselor and life coach, and in this episode, we discuss not only her story and her upbringing, but also just some areas about life coaching. If you never know about life coaching or the proper steps, it's definitely an episode to learn more about that field and what they do exactly. Also, just learn more just about just how we can become better as people. I think everybody has different skills and assets that I think one makes them special, but also I think gives Jennifer the unique ability to find ways to help her clients achieve the goals that they want to achieve. When you think of life coaches, there's always different gray areas because again, there's so many things of what it means to be a life coach, and I think Jennifer does an excellent job in this episode describing that. So if you feel like that's something you're interested in, this is the episode for you. Her information and social media stuff will be in the episode description. And as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to the pod on your favorite audio platform. Check out my stuff on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, YouTube at my name, Rashad Young. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Until next time, peace. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining today's episode. I'm super excited to connect with you and learn a little bit more about you. Similar to all my other guests, I think what's really important is to humanize our experience as people, right? So I think the beautiful thing is what we do and who we are is one thing, but the internal of who we are, the essence of who we are to do the things that we do is just as important. So my question for you, like I asked everybody else, who are you to the world?
To the world, I
To the world.
am to the world. I am Jennifer Henriquez. I'm a school counselor. I'm a native New Yorker, and a life coach for women.
Okay, school counselor. What level? Like middle school, high
Middle
school?
school.
Oh, okay. Middle school counselor, life coach, and from New York. I got a lot of family from Philly, so I have a lot of love for the East Coast. I think New York people don't get the proper respect, but I appreciate.
Thank you for
I
that.
yeah. I argue that New York has the best pizza. I did a year in Chicago, and people in Chicago think that they got the better pizza, but I think it's
It's just
nothing
a
like.
different type of pizza.
Yeah, it's not good. It's
It's
no
just,
good.
yeah.
It's no good. So okay, so take me to your journey into becoming a school counselor. What got you into wanting to be in that space of helping kids, especially teenagers, middle schoolers?
Well, I kind of landed into the middle school realm, but I always knew I wanted to help children. That was my thing from young. I thought it would be somewhat in nursing, somewhat in physical therapy, who knew? But I then failed chemistry in college, so I said, okay, that's not the route for me. And then I thought it would be teaching, but I found just me talking in small groups was way better than being in a classroom. And then the thing out here was there was a freeze at the time for getting counselors.
Mhm.
So I went a different route. I became a substance abuse prevention counselor in the schools, and it just so happened that a position was open in the middle school. I thought I really wanted elementary school,
Yeah.
but I landed in middle school and never left.
Okay. So middle school is such an interesting route. So similar to you, I'm a school counselor, but I do high school. I work with high school kids. I did a middle school route. I did elementary as well as a teacher. That was a short stint, like 6 months. Couldn't kindergartens, man. They tested my
I
confidence.
heard there, I heard there something else.
Yeah, it's like you think that because they five, it makes sense. Like you can give them a directive, and where I was at, they looked at me like, I do not know who you are, man. Please
Mm-hmm.
get out of my face. And that is higher ed as well. So I think what's really important about the space of education is really try to draw an awareness to, for those who may not know, when you think of middle school kids, you think of puberty, you think of all the emotions that they have. And so, what do you think is one misconception that people may not necessarily know about middle school kids that they should know?
I think the biggest misconception is that they're adults or that they are in middle school and now that they can do everything on their own. I think that is a huge misconception, especially when it comes to parents. My mom followed me all the way through high school. She went to every parent teacher. She did not let up. And I understand that now because, yeah, I think that they think, oh, you're in middle school, you're mature, you should be doing your homework, you should be telling me things. And that is not the case. If anything, kids hide more. They don't know how to express that they need help. And they don't want to feel like they're asking for too much. So I think as parents, you should be on them way more.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's a disconnect between parents and school staff in the middle school level? I think in the high school level sometimes they are.
I find I find that that depends on where you are in New York, what borough, what neighborhood,
Yeah.
what district, because you can be in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. I'm sure you'll have a big, huge parent community, or you can be in a space where I am, where I am mostly with Asian, Hispanic immigrant communities who
Mm.
they try their hardest to come and be there, but they're expecting their children to do what they have to do. And
Oh.
that's it. And it's not that they don't want to be part of the community. They're just
Yeah.
working and, it's hard.
Yeah, the resources, the access, all those things. I've always been interested with New York schooling system. I don't know how much you know about it, but I'm always intrigued. I know it's like PS like 100 to like 500. How does that work in the New York school public system? Like how does it district based? Is it academics? Is it social economics? Is it a mix of things?
Yeah, so it's basically three levels, which is elementary, middle, high school. And then districts are just depending in the district is like the neighborhood, I would say.
Okay.
Um, but you would think that the districts kind of follow each other, but they don't. So for example,
Yeah.
like District 1 is like in Manhattan, but
Mm, mm.
it's not so much. And now over the years, high schools have been so big that they've cut them down. So there could be like five high schools in one building. And that becomes like names instead. But yeah.
Okay. Oh, really? Like in one building?
Yeah. So let's say the building has four floors, it'll be a high school per floor.
Wow. That's that's
A
pretty.
terrible
That's pretty.
idea, but
Yeah, I'm trying to navigate like how does that work, but obviously, that's what they do up there. So let's transition a bit to life coaching, for example. Like what got you into life coaching? Well, that's kind of like a double parallel thing where you're doing school counseling, and you want to assist others. Like, how do we get into that?
I didn't really look like for it. It kind of happened where I was watching Million Dollar Listing, that show about real
Oh,
estate, and the
yeah, yeah.
guy was on his way to a showing and he was talking to his life coach. And I was telling my husband, I was like, that's what I do all day. Like, what is this life coach business? Um,
Mhm.
and I've heard like sprinkles of it. Um, so I decided when the pandemic hit and we were home, I was like, okay, let me look into this and see, you know, how I can do this. And because also I became a school counselor and I thought that was like my end all be all, and
Yeah.
a little, I felt a little empty. I thought like,
Mhm.
okay, I would get here, I did what I had to do, I got my degrees, I got my dream job, and somehow I was like, well, something's missing. So I dove into life coaching. That was great because it wasn't what I thought it would be. It helped me a lot more than I realized. And then I started by coaching women and just helping them with mindset, confidence, and people pleasing behaviors. I came back to work after COVID and I noticed I was talking a lot more to staff than I typically would.
Right.
I talked to staff about students, but I never had so many staff members just talk to me about themselves and their
Yeah, yeah.
lives. And I was like,
Mhm.
wow, okay, yeah, I got a lot going on. Um, and I was like, wow, does everyone feel like this? Like that's crazy. And also I've been in situations where you just feel like you have no out. Um, and through my trials and tribulations, I've created programs where I'm like, no, I've been there, I've seen it. You don't have to stay stuck where you're at. Because as an educator, I think we feel like there is no out. It's like, this is the only thing we have, right? Like if you studied marketing, you can do marketing in any realm. With
Right.
education, I think people feel stuck and they don't feel like they can move from school to school, especially if you are in a toxic work environment. So now I
Right.
help educators just not equate their self-worth to their work.
No, I think you're opening up a Pandora's box, which is great. Feeling stuck is a natural thing. I think, especially as you mentioned within education, you only can see so many routes and ceilings. What was that defining moment for you? It may not necessarily be in education. What was that defining moment for you, where you realized that you can unstuck yourself?
When I was written a bad review,
Okay.
and that same person that wrote me the bad review then grouped me in a email saying that I was a great um, counselor and to consider me for um, a school counselor position. So the position that I had as a substance abuse counselor necessarily wasn't a school counselor. I was moving
Sure.
to transition. And I
Yeah.
just found that so odd and toxic and very weird. And I came home and I really had to talk to myself like off the edge. Like I was like, and that's not, I'm by no means that person. If anyone knows me personally, I'm like super easygoing. And my mom's like, you're so angry. And that was like a wake up call. And I was like, I'm not about to let this person push me over. I'm not going to have burnout, at 27. That's crazy. So I prayed to God and I got myself out of there.
Yeah, no, I mean that's really interesting how like that kind of works out where one person will say you're not doing something, but also be the same person to help you get to the next step. I had
So
a
odd.
experience like that. I had an experience like that too. I was 23. I was in higher ed. I was doing admissions, and the manager at the time, she pretty much just wrote me to filth. She pretty much said I was incompetent. She didn't do the performance review either. She went out of town to do a international trip when it happened. So I had to talk to the director of the entire thing. But I did a trip like a year later with our alums and stuff like that, and all the people were calling her back like this man is amazing. Like I don't know what you I don't know what you see.
Right.
But he's doing a great job. So I've learned that sometimes people project their own insecurities onto others, which I think once you pay attention to that, it doesn't bother you that much. So working with educators now, what would you say is probably the most common problem that they do come to you about when it comes to life coaching?
Um, I think it's I think it's the let me choose my words correctly. I want to say it's the students and how they just don't know how to manage them anymore. Like the students that we're getting, like they're just,
Yeah.
and I think even teachers think I have a magic wand. And I tell them, I'm like, he cursed me out too. Like I just choose not to personalize it. Like
Yeah.
you're taking it to heart. And I think that's what it is. They take it to heart. They feel like they're not doing enough. They're comparing themselves to other educators, possibly in other buildings that may say, oh, I love my job. And then here you are, like, I hate it here. Okay, but why? And I feel like, especially teachers, not so much counselors, but teachers are so meticulous with how they do things that any little thing that makes them get off the line, they don't know how to bounce back.
Yeah.
Um, and they feel like it's their fault. And they're up against so many standards that it's hard to not feel that way.
Yeah. No, I mean, being a teacher is tough. That's why I did it for so long. It's one of those things where, yeah, your critique on your students' ability to understand what's going on, but then also like you gotta do classroom management, and
Right.
depending on the school, that matters too. Sometimes
Yes.
your best teaching ability is just your ability to manage a classroom with a lot of chaos, which I wish that more people would have an understanding with that. Some of these schools, man, you just making it through the day without two kids getting at each other is the win itself. The material doesn't even matter. So no, I
No,
definitely go ahead.
I mean, I have a teacher friend who, you know, she she translate her lessons in 9 different languages. And she's actually going out the way. And she came to me one day like, literally crying, and she goes, I don't know what to do. Like, I feel like I'm not doing enough. And I was like, you're up against students who haven't been to school in 2 years. Like,
Right.
what do you want out of them? They can't
Yeah.
expect something out of you. You can't get it out of them. So yeah,
9 different languages. That what type of
nine,
school is this?
9. It's like
Uh,
Spanish, Chinese, then you have Mandarin,
right.
Bengali, Russian. So now we're getting a lot of kids from like
Oh, because
Uzbekistan,
yeah.
those countries. So not only that, not is it Russian, it's also Uzbek, it's Tajik, it's whatever other languages they have in those countries that when they come, usually you can bounce off other kids to help you translate, but some is like they don't know. So that's the
Yeah.
9.
That makes sense. I'm now thinking about what you said about the school background. That's a lot. So much credit to her and anybody else
I know, yeah.
navigating that because that's a lot. So going back to self-worth for a bit, 'cause you kind of mentioned that when you originally worked with uh, uh predominantly women clients at that time, that was the go-to. How do you think you build up that self-worth and confidence? I know people have like their own ideas, but what do you think is like a good key or keys to kind of navigate and becoming more worthy of self?
I think you have to be willing to let go of whatever you've been taught throughout the years of what self-worth is, because that's a perception that's been given to you by whoever raised you
Right.
and their experiences. So the experiences my mom had isn't going to be what I have. It could be similar, but it's not that. And so you have to be willing to kind of rewire your brain and mindset to come up with your own version of what self-worth is or what you want it to be, and then work towards that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And so what would you say when it comes to adversity, uh, how do you think people can overcome adversity, regardless of whatever the situation is? Like, what do you think is like some proper steps to like navigating that? I know it's not a one, two, three step, but
No, and I had a hard time with this because I have been part of a lot of coaching programs or have listened to YouTube videos, these like millionaires, and they'll be like, you can do anything and whatever. And a lot of the times you can't, but I am a firm believer of that you have a choice for
hmm
everything.
hmm
Some choices are harder to make than others. Some choices make you feel like you don't have a choice, but you always have a choice. And I think it's also truly trusting your gut. And a lot of us don't do that. And that's why we end up with the comparisons or feeling like we're not good enough or we're not going to get there. But I think I think also realizing like there's time. I think a lot of us, when it comes to battling adversity, we feel like we have to do it in a certain amount of time, and that causes missteps.
right.
And so I think letting go of the idea of time and not having enough of it is a big game changer.
Yeah, no, 100%. And what would you say is your inspirations in today's time? What inspires you? What is it? People? Is it a certain book you've read? Like, what do you think inspires you to continue to do the work that you do?
Um, I think people and like my students, like I told the students the other day, I was like, I don't, he said something, he said something about another coworker, which was true. I didn't tell him it was true, but I just stood back and I was like, wow, like you guys are something else. I was like, I don't remember being in middle school and paying attention that close to
Mhm.
teachers' lives
Yeah.
and being that inquisitive and being that like street smart. And I just think that they're so cool. Like if they use that to a positive like outlook, it would be great.
Mm.
But just teaching them like, yeah, just teaching them things that is useful and making every moment teachable.
Yeah, no, I think yeah, kids, man, I tell you, they will tell you so much about different people, and you're like, man, I thought about that already, but how did you know about that? Like that makes sense.
Right. I'm like,
Yeah, and then
no, really?
you got to sit there and be like, yeah, I thought about that too, but I can't tell you that because that's
Right.
going to start a rumor. So what do you think is your ultimate goal in all this? Like when it's all said and done from an education and life coach side, like what is your ultimate goal or dream in navigating all this?
I think my ultimate goal is just to leave people in a better place than I met them. I
Mhm.
think I worked really hard to be where I'm at, mindset wise. And I can't say that I don't continue to struggle because of course that's inevitable, but I think just helping educators understand themselves and to know that they're not alone. Like this world is full of us, but sometimes we feel like we're the only one feeling that way or we feel bad for feeling that way. So just leaving you better off than I met you.
Yeah, I like that. And what would Jennifer 10 or 15 years ago tell Jennifer now if she can go back in time and say something?
I would tell her that she needs to be confident and she needs to just do whatever she wants. No second guessing. Like you want it, you go after it. Who cares what people are going to say?
I like that. I
Yeah.
like that. Do you have any books that you've read that have inspired your thinking?
Um, I've actually started to read a book on immigration. I don't remember the title, but it was just comparing, the talk about immigration and how they're stealing our jobs and whatever that is.
Mm.
And so it was interesting to read that the struggles of immigrants years ago is still the same. The assimilation is still the same. And it's so interesting that immigrant children continue to surpass American children when it comes to, education and um, like the higher jobs such as tech and things like that. So I found that super interesting.
And why do you think that's the case from your perspective? The surpassing or the ability to work harder, or it seems like more of a intrinsic drive to do better.
I mean, I guess that goes for how what your family values. Like if they
Mm.
value education, whether you're an immigrant or not, you're gonna make it there. Um, I just think they just value different things. That's all.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But also, I think when you mentioned it, I think it is also relatively true. When I think of some of the students that I work with, while most of them are American, I do just feel like the motivational factors are just a lot different, and the values are a lot different. It's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I might go to college. Where maybe a student who's an immigrant, it's like, well, no, I have to go to college, and I have to do this, and I have to get to that
Right.
point, because it's like this. It's a significant amount of pressure to succeed so they can take whatever information they have to either make their family life better here or to take the information they have and make their family life better back from their original country. So no, I think that's the biggest thing is that the value piece you mentioned is uh, really important. And so a final question for you, as I ask everybody, is what does it mean to be human to you?
Mm, such a good question. Um, I think what it means to be to me is like being authentically you and being your most vulnerable self. Because I think when you're your most vulnerable self, there's no, you don't have to ask for permission. There's no feeling sorry, for how you act or unless you're like a bad person. But I think when you're vulnerable and you just bring off the most authentic you, people see the true you. You There's no act. You don't have to, then later on be like, oh, I didn't mean that. Um, and I think just owning who you are.
Yeah, being authentically yourself.
Yeah.
No. Well, I appreciate that, Jennifer, and I appreciate the interview. For those who can find you on social media, 'cause I know you're pretty active, where can they find you?
So my Instagram page is coaching underscore with Grace. My TikTok is more fun. That's that's for so long I did not get on TikTok. Oh my gosh. I was like, I am not gonna be on another social media handle. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Worst mistake. I love it over there.
Yeah, TikTok is great,
Those
man.
educators are so funny. Those are so
Yeah.
funny people.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that's
so my TikTok is Jenna, and
yeah.
then three underscores Grace. And
Okay.
then you can find me on my website, coachingwgrace.com.
Okay. And that all the information will be in the episode description. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining. And for those who will be listening, make sure to subscribe to the pod on your favorite audio platform. Check me out on YouTube and make sure to check out Jennifer's stuff. And if you're ever in the New York area, make sure to get some good New York pizza because I'm a fan of New York pizza. So this has been another episode of Knowing is Knowing. Appreciate you guys. Till next time.